In this video, we will explore how to clean our module namespace from imported functions and why we would want to do that. I'm currently in the human class that we have used before, and we don't have any function. So let's say we want to introduce a simple function that's going to take a reference of arrayref or hashref, and that's going to return a JSON string. So I'm going to introduce a method called sub_convert, and this method is going to take self, which is the current instance, and let's say this is going to be a variable called reference. So we get from the args list, so at underscore. And the next thing we want to do, we want to install a module called JSON. So if you go to the console and run cpan JSON, and I already have this installed, but it's going to take a minute or two for you. So let's go back to the code and let's use that module. So you know that we can use the modules by saying use and JSON. And what this JSON module does, by default, it imports a function which is called encode JSON. So we don't technically need to do this, but just to be explicit. So we're saying that we want only this function to be imported. And let's say that we want to return encode JSON, and we're going to encode the reference that we're getting from arguments. All right, so let's go to our test script, and we already have an instance of a human class. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to say human and call our function, which is converts, and I'm going to provide a hashref where the key is going to point to value 1 and b is just going to point to value 2. All right, so if we save this up, then let's add semicolon, and also let's print out what we're getting back from that function. So warn dumper, and save this. Well, technically you don't need to use dumper here because that's going to be a string. I just always like to use dumper function when I say or warn something for debugging. So if we run for Perl script, what we're going to see that we are actually printing out a JSON string. All right, so our conversion function works just as expected. So we're getting a reference, we are encoding it to JSON string, and we're printing it out. Right, so going back to the problematic case. Now, if I do something like human : encode underscore JSON, and I'm going to print this out as well, and I am going to comment out the previous line. And let's provide a value like arrayref, so with one value, which is just going to contain a string A. And let's try to run our script again. You're going to see that we're printing out a JSON string which contains array with a single value of A. Now the question is here, why are we getting this encode JSON function from our human class? We are not technically implementing it, right? So we are requesting this to be imported from the JSON module. So we would kind of expect this function to be only available in the human class, but that's not really the case. So whenever you import functionality, that module that requested the import actually is going to expose that function from the class you imported the functionality into. Now in this case, this is going to be our human class that requested the encode_JSON method from JSON module. And even though we're using it inside the module here explicitly, we are also getting that function available on our human class. Most of the time, this is not really what we want because this is our class, right? All the logic is encapsulated into the single class. We don't want random functionality just appearing on our class that might bring confusion. Now, what can we do about this? Well, there's a module that we can use, and that module is called namespace : autoclean. So let's go to the terminal and run cpan and namespace : autoclean. So let's install that. Again, I already have this installed, but it's going to take a minute or two for you. And let's just use it. So underneath the use JSON, I'm going to say use namespace : autoclean. All right. And that's actually all we have to do. So when we're using this namespace autoclean, it's going to basically leave everything that looks like a function belonging to that namespace. And if I go back to the test script, and without really actually doing anything here, let's just rerun our script. Oops, not the cpan line, but we want to execute our script. So now we're getting the undefined subroutine human encode JSON called. And this is what we would expect because we didn't implement the encode JSON function inside the human class, right? We only have a convert function here. So this looks good. The namespace autoclean did what we expected. It removed any functionality that we pulled in from other modules into our class and only left the functions specific to that namespace. Now again, why would we want to clean our namespace from imported methods? Well, we might not want to do that. However, in majority of cases, I would strongly advise to use the namespace autoclean to make sure the color of your module is not met with unexpected functionality. I hope you found this video useful, and I'll see you at the next one.